People see how we react to trouble in our lives, and depending on how we react, they can be positively influenced.
Amen.
Now, if we react negatively, they're going to be negatively impacted. Amen. So it's for our good and it's for His glory. So not only does he see the Lord on the throne, Isaiah saw heavenly beings called seraphims. Another word for them is burning ones. Burning ones. These seraphim were encircling the throne of God, and each had 3 pair of wings. 2 they covered their face, 2 they covered their feet, and 2 they did fly. They covered their face. That's a picture of reverence. A reverence. God's glory is so bright and so powerful that they couldn't even look on the glory of God. They had to cover their faces from the glory of God.
Praise the Lord.
Remember when Moses went up onto the mountain? He couldn't look at God. He was in the cleft of the rock and he had to turn his back when God passed by. When he came down, his face shone so brightly he had to cover his face to the people. So bright, so powerful that he couldn't look. We can't look at the brightness of the sun with the naked eye, and that pales in comparison to the brightness and the glory of God. 2, they covered their feet. Feet in the Bible are a picture of earthly and personal activity. That's a picture of us being submissive to God. Covering the feet meant that anything that these heavenly beings did was brought under the authority and the plan of God. Go back to what I told you earlier. Everything that we do should be under submission of God. It should be under His plan. It should be under His authority. With 2 they did fly. Flying represents ceaseless activity. In other words, these heavenly beings had the authority and they had the duty of hovering over the very throne of God. They saw the majesty of God when He was ruling and superintending over all the events of the earth. And they're in total reverence, total and absolute humility, and in complete awe of what they're seeing. They can't explain it. And based on what they see and what they understand about God, they're eager to carry out God's work. Again, if we really get into the very presence of God, if we get close enough to God, we should be eager to carry out the work that God has called us to do.
Amen.
We ought to be eager to do that. But not only did Isaiah see these beings, he heard them as well. He heard them proclaiming the very holiness of God. It says, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory. The word holy, H-O-L-Y, is in direct relationship to the word whole, W-H-O-L-E. For the Jewish people, if they believe that if they say something 3 times, it put more emphasis on it. It becomes complete. So here you have holy, holy, holy. God is complete. He's complete, and we want to be complete. That's why God says, be ye holy, for I am holy. He wants us to be holy emotionally, physically, and mentally, spiritually, in every way possible. He wants us to be whole. He wants us to be completely whole. So these seraphim are proclaiming the holiness of God, saying that there's nothing lacking in Him. Everything about Him is complete. Everything about Him is whole. We live in a world today where people want to be made whole, if you will. There's therapy sessions, there's medicines, there's books, there's tapes, there's seminars and conference, all trying to keep us or make us whole. And you can't receive it all from a seminar or a book or a tape. But God is whole without help. He doesn't need any help. He doesn't need to read a book. He doesn't need to go to a seminar or anything. He's already whole without help. He's perfect and lacking nothing. In other words, God is exactly what God ought to be.
Amen. Amen.
How many times have we wanted to change God? Well, I've never wanted to change God. Yes, you have. Let me tell you how you want to change God. When God's given you a job to do, when He's called you to do something, when He's impressed upon you to do something, to go somewhere, to whatever, and we argue with Him and find excuses not to do it, we've all been there, right?
Amen.
Yes. We're trying to change God. God, you don't know what you're talking about. You've chosen the wrong individual. You didn't really mean me. You meant brother or sister so-and-so. You got it mixed up, God. We're trying to change Him. Remember, He's completely whole. He's without fault. He knows who He is choosing. He knows why He has chosen the one that He has chosen. And He never calls us and gets us or tries to get us to go do a job that He doesn't equip us for it.
Amen. It's true. Praise God.
God is absolutely holy. He's holy. He's holy. He's holy. Absolutely holy. Add to that, these seraphims declare that God's glory, or His majesty, if you will, is everywhere on the earth. Did you notice in that first verse, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and His train, the end of His robe, filled the whole temple. Represents His glory. Filled the whole temple. It says it's everywhere on the earth. In other words, everywhere you look, there God is.
Amen.
Sister Dean brought it up this morning. If you took the opportunity to look around at the ice on the trees, you could see the glory of God there.
Amen.
Everywhere you look, there God is. You just have to look hard enough to see it. Sometimes we have to slow up long enough to see it. Because we're in too much of a hurry. I got to hurry up and go here. I've got to go do this. And our mind is somewhere several miles ahead of us where we really are. Or we're several hours ahead of where we are in life. I've got to go and do. I've got to hurry up so I can be. Isn't that life today? Some of you are already sitting there thinking about what you're going to do this afternoon. I know you have. I've been there, I've done it. And you're not different than I am. We're still humans. We're still on this earth. We're not home yet.
Praise God. Praise God.
See, we're ahead of where God wants us to be most of the time. God says, slow up. Slow down. Enjoy life.
Praise
Because
God.
they don't know how long it lasts. Isaiah is trying to describe being in the presence of God, but he can't find the words. There's two particular places in the Bible, there's probably others, but the two main places in the Bible that we get a glimpse of being in the presence of God is in Revelation chapter 4, when all of those that listen to me in Bible study for all those years in the Revelation, what happens in chapter 4, verse 1? Rapture, we're out of here. And immediately after we're out of here, we see a glimpse of what heaven's like. So John gives us a glimpse of heaven. And he goes into much greater detail than what Isaiah does in this text. But even if you go back and read John's account in Revelation chapter 4, he struggles for the words to be able to describe what he's seeing. Isaiah's glimpse into what he's seeing and what he's experiencing and what he's feeling is different than what John is seeing and feeling and experiencing. Because if you look back at the tail end of what I read to you, or in verse 5, he says, woe is me, for I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among people of unclean lips. In other words, he says, I've got lips that tell you things they shouldn't say. He's not talking about dirt on his mouth. I am a man of unclean lips. I say things that I shouldn't say. And not only that, I'm living amongst a bunch of people that do the same thing. Now, I think what's interesting here is, and I gave you a little background before we started, Isaiah was